was optimistic in September, but by October I was out of the loft. And I remember a wise man once told me that all hope can never be lost, 'cause a blind squirrel finds its own acorn every once in a little while. So you gotta keep smiling. It's the Brosuv Fantasy Podcast tonight. Brosuv Fantasy, yeah, you know it's gonna be alright. It's the Brosuv Fantasy Podcast tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the BFFL Podcast. We have a special guest tonight, an absolute legend walking amongst us. First, I'd like to thank our sponsor here, Danny Hoagie. Back open. They finally paid off that $90K in back pay and debts. They're ready to serve the local community once more. Reached out to Andrew for comment. He said, "Danny Hoagie me now. Stop by today." Now, of course, I'd like to welcome, as always, my co-host, Ryan Ghilani, with us today. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Connor. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Geno. Glad to have you on.
And Ryan Hartz, welcome.
Hey, Connor. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And our special guest this week is possibly the biggest savage and nutcase in the league, although he faces admittedly stiff competition. Geno is a Blind Squirrel winner, circa 2012. He's proven to be one of the more consistent league members, despite often drafting whilst blacked out. An absolute legend walking amongst us, honestly, one of the best people in the world. Welcome to the show, Geno Seneca.
Wow, that's quite the introduction. I don't think I can possibly live up to that because, honestly, I'm not a very argumentative person. So I might not be the best guest, but I'm very excited to be here, and it's an honor.
No, I think you're going to be great. We kind of talked a little bit before we recorded, and you said you got a lot that you want to talk about. So I just wanted to kind of open the floor to you. You know, what's on your mind? What if you want to talk about one thing right now? What is it?
I don't know. It's something that you guys just keep refusing to go over time after time and again on this podcast, and I don't know why it's not come up yet. But I mean, 2 quarterback flex, super flex. We just haven't even scratched the surface. So you guys need to get into it. No. But for real though, it's funny because I realize what's happening with two quarterback because, and Ghilani's a master manipulator, genius. I get it. I mean, he has willed this into existence. If you asked everyone about 2 quarterback even a month ago, it would have been, we were never doing that. That's fucking insane. And now it's just a reality because people are so sick of talking about it that now it's just going to happen because no one wants to talk about it anymore.
The squeaky wheel gets greased, my friend.
It is true.
It's happening because somehow Hani went from against it to for it, and I still don't know how that happened.
And also,
I think it's because I talked him into it.
I mean, hats off. Lenny's all about working systems, and hats off to him because all he really needed to do was convince either Hani or Connor, and that was all he needed to do. And he convinced Hani, and that got him what he wanted. Because if you actually did a poll of everyone in the league, it would probably get shut down.
Absolutely.
But that's not how we're operating, I guess. And personally, I'm just like, I guess it's like the person who likes chaos in me that's like, well, let's just see what happens. It's like, it's exciting to me at this point. But like the only downside, the reason I'd vote against it is just like, what if it messes up the league? That would suck. Like if we get halfway through and everyone's like, this isn't that fun anymore. I don't have a quarterback. Yeah, that's the only thing. That's like the only downside. But like I'm interested to try it. It's like, is it worth the risk of being like halfway through the league and being like, well, I'm starting, Brown's backup quarterback X, but I don't know.
I don't think there's any rule that you can implement that can really ruin the league.
Right.
I mean, the competitiveness of this 12 going into the 10th season, I mean, I think that no matter what rule set we play by, we're going to find a way to have fun with it, and it's still going to be super competitive.
Right.
But I appreciate that you recognizing the hard work and manipulation that went into this on my part.
Really did.
Dating back even to last year, implementing the triumvirate commissioner. I really appreciate the recognition. Thank you very much.
Well, let me jump in here because Geno, you're a man of the people. I fancy myself a man of the people. And when we put together the triumvirate last year, it was we're going to represent the will of the league.
Right.
And I feel like this might be kind of bullshit, and I want to hear you sound off on it because the triumvirate might not be representing the will of the league. If the will of the league as a whole is we do not want to do a Superflex league, sound off on that, will you?
See, I guess if it was strong enough, if the will of the league was that strong that they really were so diametrically opposed to it, that like people would be more up in arms than they are. But I think people are just sick of talking about it, and they're like, it's that part of you that's like, well, let's just see if this is like a cool experiment that we could try out, like we did with 3 wide receiver. It's crazier than that. It's more radical than 3 wide receiver. So that's why we're still getting some blowback. But like, part of me just wants to check it out and see if we like it or not. And I know I just said, what if it ruins the league? Guess what? Nothing will be ruined when half of the league is doing well, right? If your team is doing well, you're having fun. I think that's just the end of the day. That's like, if you are successful, you will have fun. If you're doing bad, you will not have as much fun. So half the league will be successful.
Nothing can ruin this league because this league is special not because of fantasy football. This league is special because of things outside of fantasy football. So this league is unruinable.
Right. Okay. I guess that might be true. But if we were playing like fantasy hockey and I had to learn about up, downs, or plus, minus, I still don't understand any of that. It would be tough.
It's pretty easy. It's if you're on the ice when someone scores, you get a plus. If you're on the ice when the other team scores, you get a minus.
Still doesn't make any sense, but okay.
There's power play stuff in there.
It's a little more complicated depending on number of people on the ice. But let's move on from 2 quarterback because we've already been on here for 22 minutes, and I don't want to waste another episode talking about something that's already going to happen. So.
We've been on 22 minutes. Damn.
I guess the only thing is just that I just think that it needs to be discussed. Doesn't have to be like just because people are starting to accept 2 quarterback or 2 flex, whatever you call it, super flex. It doesn't have to be one way super flex. I think that you have to have different, ways of going about it. You can't just have one option as super flex. I think if you give the people the option, people will be more okay with it if they feel like they're part of it. So that's fine.
FYI, Ghilani, we've been recording for 10 minutes. Maybe we were on before that.
Okay.
It's only been 10 minutes, so.
Okay. I got worried there. I saw 22, and I was like, again? That
would have been the fastest 20 minutes of my life for sure.
Yeah.
True.
Geno, you wanted to bring up possibly.
Other thing is unrelated to that we haven't talked about yet is
actually not talked about.
Fundamental principle is that time is money. Time is money. And what I mean by that is we put ungodly amount of hours into this league between me mock drafting, in February and you guys doing this podcast and researching and looking at free agents and yelling at Machillin about something. Like we put in so much time into this league. And we only put it down $100. Like I just think that 150, if we put it up to even 150, that would just, I don't know, just give it some more stakes. And like $50, I mean, there was a time in our lives where like maybe $50 was the difference between, Machillin taking Sarah Barnett to Brewster's for ice cream, but there's no difference there anymore. That doesn't still exist. Like he can still buy her chocolate ice cream cone whether he has that $50 or not. $150. We can use extra $50. It's not even remotely even like analogous to the amount of time we're putting in an extra $50. So like, why not do it? And then guess what? If we put in another $50, first place gets an even $1K. How gratifying would that feel?
Yeah, totally.
For Lanny or Connor to Venmo you $1,000, and then
if you break it down by the week, it's only $10 a week.
I know. An even $1K for first place. Think about that. You win $1,000. You can send like racks on racks on racks, Rack City. You can send those songs to the group chat and on YouTube, and you can play that song and dance around your room because for a rack for our whiter friends is $1,000. You can fucking that would be amazing. Like
okay, I love it I've been advocating for a bigger buy-in for a while. I don't think 150 is big enough leap.
Double it.
I would like to go to 500. And not only that, I would like to have 100 of that 500 go to a side pot that gets paid out to the first person to win 2 times in a row. I think that $500 isn't, I mean, it's a lot more than 100. It's a big step up and it's going to be a little bit harder to swallow. But $500, I mean, that's not that much when you're considering 16 weeks plus.
No one can tell their wives, because Alicia thinks it's ridiculous that I put $100 into every league I'm in, and I'm like, "Are you serious? $100? You think it's
the amount of time you put in is, I mean, it's insane."
Because she doesn't know that I put $100 last November on Northeast California State and basketball on a Tuesday night.
I was gonna say I drop $100 at least every single fight night. I mean,
yeah.
I think, but see, you have to talk to the people that don't have any chance of winning, like Machillin, like Andrew. Like when you're one of those guys that can't even win, maybe spark a little something in them. I don't know, but they're not gonna want to pay that.
Those guys are balling. I think they'll be able to.
How do you convince those people?
Well, I don't think we're gonna convince them with 5, but I think we could definitely. I think we could do 3. I think that would be pretty reasonable, right? We can still even do the side pot thing,
Yeah, what about the side pot? Talk to me about the side pot.
Even
I'm
a
intrigued.
$50 side pot builds quickly when this league isn't going. There's not going to be it's going to be a while before there's a repeat winner or a back-to-back winner.
We've only had one back-to-back.
It'd be nice.
Hani in year 3 and 4 went back-to-back. The only person that's gone back-to-back.
Now,
it's a way of keeping the league together. People don't want to.
Geno, talk to me.
Jump out on that.
I was just going to say, this is where it comes back, and that's where 2 quarterback kind of nicks you in a butt if you want to do a $500 buy-in, because now we're changing all the rules and people aren't familiar, they're not as confident in their draft strategy. And
it's probably one of the better arguments that I've heard.
Honestly,
it's hard to do 500 if you're changing things as radically as 2 quarterback.
Completely new.
I agree 100%. Yep.
So maybe we go to 250.
I cut
it in half.
I like that.
250 with the $50 side pot.
And just standard scoring, right?
No, with the new implemented rules that we're voting on.
I'm just kidding.
It's tough to think that we're going to make a big increase in the buy-in when we're making this big of a change in the league. No one's played in it ever. No one's even played in this.
Right.
The only one that really benefits is Ghilani. So people are going to be using that to.
Why do you think it benefits me?
It's just a known fact. That's just what it does. That's your strategy every year.
You draft a lot of quarterbacks.
And you won't accept any other version of the 2 quarterback or the super flex. So it just knows that you have this certain thing that you want to play, and you're not even at all. You won't even take a little step back and even think about another option. You crush everything. It has to be that way, and that's just how it's happening.
So you think that I already have the perfect strategy for the set of rules that I have put forth, and you are so confident that I know what I'm talking about that you don't want to do it because you know that I'm going to win. That's what you're saying to me.
I've already been for the super flex. It's just certain versions of it need to be changed. That's what I've already told you that I'm for it if we do it, the right way.
I'm really happy to be receiving
and
this.
I also agree that you do think that, yes. Not me. I don't think that you think that.
You just said that I have an advantage, which means that
you think that you do.
But there certainly is a connection between you being known for rostering more quarterbacks than you need, and then all of a sudden now we're going to have more quarterbacks to start. I mean, there is a correlation there, surely.
And I'm not even maybe you'll luck into a win again.
There's nothing wrong with
wanting
to win the league. I mean, no one's begrudging you for that.
No, I'm like really overwhelmed with emotion that you guys think so highly of my strategy, and you think that I'm so good at this game that you're scared to play by these rules because you know I'm going to win.
Not scared.
I'm getting all kinds of really great feedback today.
You think that.
Thank you,
guys. I do love that you think that. It
is peculiar that it does align with your draft strategy. I mean,
that's what it's just so funny. And then just blatantly tries to say that it doesn't at all. Oh, whatever.
You guys must think very
It's
highly
just
of
funny. It's just funny.
It's just peculiar. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit interesting. That's all I'm saying.
Gene, how about this?
And Andy wants the up. Andy wants the ante. He thinks he's gonna win this one because no one's gonna have any idea. I love that. It's just incredible. It's just incredible.
Yep. Beautiful.
Continue.
You won't do a $500 buy-in. You wouldn't do it.
Hey,
I mean,
I'll put whatever, dude. I win like every other year, so
It makes
Let's do 1,000. Let's do 1,000.
I'm in.
it makes a lot of sense to increase it. I mean,
Your roster is only quarterbacks. quarterback.
And
Gene,
then
how
you
about
see what happens when he picks the wrong 3 quarterbacks last year. All right, let's move on.
Gene, how about this? There's been a little bit of smack talk over the first couple episodes of the pod. And I honestly, like, I was doing it too, about, you know, your championship being back in kind of age of the league before everyone really even knew what they were doing, before we really took it seriously. And on the flip side of that, I've also said that you are, you know, by the numbers, one of the more consistent players in the league, because when the asshole co-hosts of mine tried to disparage our division, I said Geno's actually one of the best players in this league. Where do you fall in that? Do you see yourself as one of the big boys of this league, or do you think you still have something to prove as far as, you know, hey, maybe I haven't won in a long time, I need to really get in there and get a championship? Because you've been in the championship and lost in the championship at least once recently, so it's not like you're an also ran, but you're kind of one of the more interesting case studies in the league. I'm just wondering where you see yourself in this league.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty sick of people disparaging my previous squirrel trophy, like we were like doing cave drawings back when I won, and I'm just like, it doesn't make any sense. There was never a time. There was never a time when we.
Yeah, that was back when Ghilani did the scoring by hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Checking AOL Instant Messenger for scores.
Yeah, we had lanterns and. Dick Groat was my start.
It was close. I mean, it was close to that.
It was 8 years ago. Yeah, it was 8 years ago. So. All right, continue. Sorry.
But anyway, no. I see myself as elite. I think I know you've asked everyone like what's their key to success and all that stuff. So I was ready for that question. But I think the reason I've been able to stay pretty elite, but like, you know, I've lost in the playoffs. It also is kind of a brutal, and I realize you have to do playoffs. It's just like the nature of sport. But it is kind of brutal that you can like have an unbelievable season and then like you just have one bad week in the playoffs and your season's just over. I know that's just the nature of playoffs, but it is kind of brutal. And like no one wants to do like roto. Like that's just boring. But like you know, it is.
That's how like the normal NFL is.
Yeah, I know. It's just normal, but
that's what happened to me in Geno League last year.
Yeah.
I've smashed, you know, records really for points. I was just running away with the league, and then just ran into a buzzsaw, and I think it was Phil Trzynski. God bless the guy, but you know,
he's watching.
Broke my heart.
So I got some stats about Geno here. Over the last 5 seasons,
these are with an asterisk, right? With an asterisk.
These are verified within the past 5 seasons.
Full amount of his head.
Geno is the 4th best record of 12 at 34, 31, no ties, no squirrels.
Regular season?
Regular season only. 4th out of 12 over the last 5 years.
I think it's interesting. Geno likes ties more than anyone else, and he never got a tie. I almost feel bad for him.
I used to like ties until they bit me, and now I hate ties. But no, I don't know. I think I've been pretty. Glenn, do you have more stats? Sorry.
No, those are the only stats I have. I just have the records.
Gotcha. But no, I think I've been fairly elite. I don't know. I'm very good at finding. Actually, you know what? This is what the point I was going to make. I think that people do not use this. I should be charging for this information, honestly. But there's a point in the draft that people do not use effectively, and you know what it is? It's the break. The break in the draft is so key to my success because a lot of times you have the break. People are getting texts from their wags like, "What are you doing? You haven't texted me," or like they're fucking off, and you know the alcohol's really kicking in, and that's not what. But like they get tired and lethargic. and they're losing focus, and then next thing you know, we're coming back, and like Machillan and Andrew are fighting over Blair Walsh or whatever, and then and people have kind of lost all focus and fighting over Seahawks defense, So but during the break, what I do is I go upstairs, do a little self-care, come back down, ready to roll, and I've just been able to find people late in the draft, like I got.
The homie Alvin was your best.
Yeah, I got the homie Alvin in like the 13th round in his breakout year. I got Scary Terry last year when Moach was trying to tell me to draft Paul Richardson. So and like I've been able to find them super late in the draft, and like you got to keep that focus. Like you got to use the break and keep that focus. So like not just be like screw it, I'm going to take Seahawks defense. And like try to like find those diamonds in the rough at the end and look at opportunity, and don't just fan out or flame out at the end.
I love that. Yeah, the breaks always been super important to you, and now I'm starting to understand why. It's not just about taking a break from all the intensity. It's about resetting and getting focused for the rest of the draft.
Yeah.
I love
like
that.
starting at round 1. Yeah,
I love that. Exactly. Round 8 is round 1. That should be our mantra.
Breaks
like
are.
Dude, we'll see who listens.
Yeah.
Podcast next year. We'll see.
Nah, Moach will still be trying to do like shots of Fireball in the kitchen. Don't worry about it.
I feel like Moach always takes a defense before everyone else. He's always he always thinks he has that defensive.
Yo,
He
last
does.
year I talked Machillan into taking a defense even without even saying their name. I think it was like maybe the 5th or 6th round. I can't remember what it was exactly, but the Bears defense was sitting there, and I was like, I know exactly who Machillan's going to take right now. I know exactly who he's going to take. And then you said that early, and I said, yup, he's going to take one that early. And immediately came 3 picks later, Chicago Bears defense. Like, it was unbelievable.
The defenses are so hard to predict too. And
Yeah, the one that goes first is always a bust, right?
The Patriots defense were picked up on the waiver wire last year for $11 or $12 in week 1. After week 1.
If you're picking up a defense that early in the draft, it's always gonna bust. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Even if you pick up the Patriots last year, you're probably still not getting the value you should have. Yeah,
Well, the Patriots had like double the points of everybody else, so that would have been worth it. But most seasons, you're right.
That's an outlier.
Geno, 2 quarterback aside, we know that that's happening. Or excuse me, Superflex. We know that that's happening. What rule change would you like to see implemented for the upcoming season?
Are we still doing bonuses?
The bonuses are still there. We would have to vote the bonuses out because they are a rule from last year. I'd like to keep the bonuses for running backs and receivers. I'd like to throw away the bonuses for quarterbacks.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where we're trending. Yeah.
But go ahead.
I was gonna say I actually like 3 wide receiver. I enjoyed it, but then again, I might have just picked good wide receivers. So
Scary Terry, bro.
You were
Terry,
you were good at wide receiver.
DJ Chark, like I was Michael Thomas. I was good, but
Didn't you get Chark in a trade?
No, I picked him up off the waivers in like week 2 or 3 or something, I believe.
Okay.
But I was fine with wide receiver, but if I wasn't, then perhaps I would not like it as much. Like so many of the league seems to have an issue with it. But nothing's really coming to mind. Bonuses are a little weird, especially when you're watching live because you can be playing someone and all of a sudden it's a pretty close game and then their guy runs in a 10-yard touchdown and then all of a sudden they get this massive point spike and it can be frustrating if you're watching that live because you're like, fuck, I didn't even think about all that. But and then with 2 QB, the other thing I don't like about 2 quarterback, and this is just kind of arbitrary,
Superflex.
Superflex is that I like the roster composition actually reflecting like an actual team, like having like 1 quarterback. There's not 2 quarterbacks on the field. I know that seems stupid, but that's just how I feel.
I get that. No, that makes sense.
People defend that by saying that the quarterback is the most important position.
Right.
So in order to make them the most important position on your team, you have to have two of them because they just don't get valued the way the other ones do.
See, I think that adding a second option, the superflex, makes quarterbacks less valuable overall. I think that you can get away with having two mediocre quarterbacks in a superflex league, but that's just me.
Right.
I mean, I know there is.
Well, you're getting more value out of them.
If you guys, I mean, I'm sure you guys all listen to fantasy football podcasts, but like, all the ones that are like perceived gurus and hardcores, they're all pushing, yeah, they're all pushing for this. Like, all the people that are paid to make fantasy football podcasts, they're pushing for Superflex. They think that's like the next wave of what fantasy should be.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Of course they are, because I said that 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
Geno
is the deepest position, so I understand the basis for it.
Geno, let me ask you this: like, you are probably the person who showed me the way. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, about just the beauty of standard scoring and like the mad scramble to change everything and make everything more interesting was actually a fool's game because standard is perfect, and we'd been doing it for so long, and like the benchmarks, like, oh, I scored 100 points this week, I was great. You kind of showed me the way on that. I'm wondering if you still feel that way about standard. If you had a choice, would you go back to just doing it standard? Is my question.
Yeah, I do love the benchmarks. I mean, it's just like, it's just creatures of habit. You like what you're used to, but that like 80, you're probably gonna lose. 90, you had a decent week, you should win maybe, and then 100, you had a good week, you definitely should win. That roughly those benchmarks are like pretty cool. But then when you start throwing in bonuses and PPR, then everything goes out the window and people are scoring 200 points, and But I do prefer standard, but like no one cares about your other league. Everyone was up in arms about not having PPR, so I did a half point and it was fine, but I do prefer standard.
Beautiful.
I have to agree with him.
I'm actually a standard supporter too. I love it, but like I said earlier, I mean, as long as we're all playing together, that's really. I mean, like, I'm not going to really lose sleep over any sort of rule change, but I do find standard to be a lot of fun. Geno, let me ask you this. I'm pretty sure I know who you're going to pick, but who's your favorite fantasy football player you ever had on your team in this league?
Damn, that's hard. I mean, I want to say Todd Gurley because I had him like when he was a monster, and I just remember just making that video when I was like at that bar and really drunk. I was like, Todd Gurley, but I'm trying to think. But probably Alvin Kamara.
That's who I thought you'd pick.
Yeah, he's like the most fun, and because I picked him out of complete obscurity.
Dude, do you remember? This is like a sincere throwback. This might have been like the year you won. Like, you at one point you sent a video and
sincere throwback.
And T.Y. Hilton had scored a touchdown for you to win the week, and you had sent a video. You're like flying down the highway in your car, and you're singing to the tune of Alex Hilton by the Replacements, "Children by the Millions, Sing for T.Y. Hilton." And I'll never forget that.
I do remember that. That was pretty epic. I was really excited. About that.
Yeah, you never really forget those last like gasp wins you have. I remember during my Cinderella season, I beat Hartz one week, like because of a last second extra point. Just my kicker got like one extra point and I beat him by 1 point. And I remember like texting him at like midnight, saying all sorts of uncouth shit to him. You just never forget those sorts of experiences.
For sure. Yeah, I remember one year Des Bryant caught a touchdown with like no time left. And I won a playoff game, and I was going nuts. I can't. I might have been playing you. I'm not really sure.
A playoff game. I mean, that's even extra special.
Yeah, it was awesome.
How about being at the Barking Shark last year and James Conner fumbling with hardly any time and beating Ryan Ghilani
Oh, wow.
Under a point? Is it under a point? 0.7? Oh man,
It was like
us three.
0.3. Yeah.
Us three. Oh,
I think with man, I would
Connor
have
had
to
to
go
tell me
back
I
and look
won.
at the stats, but there was like less than 3 minutes to go in the game, and I was up by like 30 points, and
Right.
I lost.
I checked out and just believed that I had lost until Connor told me. I was saying something about I can't believe I lost to Ghilani this week, and he goes, "What are you talking about? You won." And I said, "What?" I checked the app. 0.7 points or something. Oh my gosh.
That was
Never
the week
forget
I
that
lost
one.
the season. It was like the third week of the season, I think. But I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a tough week for Steeler fans as well. It's a shame because that night was so much fun going out in Millvale, but honestly, pissed the game away. The Steelers did that week.
Yeah, that
5
was rough.
turnovers. That was they had 5 defensive turnovers and could not win.
It's a brutal day.
Brutal.
Yep.
Brutal.
I know this is going to date this podcast terribly, but what do you guys think will happen with the NFL this year? Might be interesting to look back at this. Like, do you think they're going to play? Like, do you think there's not going to be fans?
Yeah, it'll probably be like they're saying it's going to be like 30% capacity, which probably all the rich big donors, for college and NFL, like the big ticket people will get in, and then the rest of us simpletons won't. But I think they'll play with just limited capacity. I mean, the Premier League started today, and they didn't make them all. I mean, like the NBA is talking about making everyone stay in Disney World. I mean, the Premier League started up. They're not making them all stay, at Stonehenge or whatever in one place. They're playing in their home stadiums just without fans for now. And I think that's a great thing for, even if you're not a, soccer fan, if you are interested in seeing American sports back, they're providing the blueprint for it. And I think I don't care if there's fans, obviously I'd love there to be fans, but if it's between no sports with because they can't have fans in, or just sports with no fans, just give me sports with no fans.
Yep.
I don't see any reason why the NFL can't do that.
I think that, I as a consumer definitely agree with you as far as I'd rather have sports without fans than no sports at all. But I think as an athlete, growing up and playing in front of people, and you draw a certain amount of competitiveness and a certain amount of adrenaline from the crowd. And I think it's a worse product without the fans. We really haven't seen too much of it, but we've seen a lot of the UFC, and while a lot of the fights have been great, it doesn't have the same energy that sports have with the fans. I think that we will see the NFL be as close to normal of any of the major sports. I think they'll have some fans in some kind of capacity, like you said, maybe 25, 30%. But it's going to be weird for sure. But I definitely think they'll have the season. There's way too much money involved for way too many people for them to have a canceled even or shortened season.
Right.
I think it's business as usual, but who knows about the fans?
And it seems like baseball and hockey and NBA, like they're all they're all kind of just playing this waiting game because they don't want to lose out on all that money from the gate and ticket revenue, fans and merch and food from people being at the games. But they keep thinking that something's going to change, right? Because they're like, if we just keep waiting, something will change and we can have fans. But they don't know the NFL is going to be so prepared because they have so much time to react, and the season's so far away still.
Exactly.
I think so. Hockey is going to be an interesting case study for the NFL because they have camp starting in less than a month, and they have a setup where they're going to do 2 hub cities for their postseason, an extended postseason. But they've announced that one of them is going to be Las Vegas. We're still waiting to hear the other one. It might be Toronto. It should be Toronto. But based on some travel restrictions, they might not be able to host it. But either way, they're going to have basically one side of the conference, or one conference in one hub city, another in the other, and they're going to play in front of no fans. It's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. The cool thing, I think, is they'll be able to get the entire thing done, even if 1 or 2 players test positive here and there. I don't think there's going to be any chance of shutting the season down, but it's going to be cool for the NFL to see how that kind of plays out with no fans in those hub cities.
Right.
Yeah, and what I hope they do is they embrace on ice noise, because in the Premier League games today, I was watching them. They kind of had fake crowd noise just to like. I would love to hear, especially in hockey, because they're known to talk shit at each other, and the refs talk back to them too. Like, I would love if they just embraced it. Okay, we don't have fans. You're gonna miss all the atmosphere, but here's what we'll give you instead. You're gonna be able to hear. I mean, I'm not saying mic up players for but like just embrace like hearing people chirping back and forth and having fun.
I've always said that they should mic up the players, and you should have a separate thing.
Right.
I probably shouldn't be talking about this on a recorded call, but I want to hear what people are saying in the games, in all sports, across all sports. When the offensive line and the defensive line are huddled up next to each other, 4th and 1 on the goal line, like, what are those guys saying to each other? I want to know. I want to hear that.
How intense is it?
Yeah,
It's crazy. And in the UFC, you're hearing a lot of that. You can hear the coaches word for word what they're saying to their fighters in the cages. The fighters can even hear the commentators. I mean, these guys are getting advice from DC in the middle of the fight. I mean, it's amazing. So I'm actually, you brought up a good point. I'm really excited to see that in hockey and maybe even in other sports too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. You remember sitting at the Civic Arena, like high up, for some reason, all the sound would just travel right up.
Yep.
And if you were high enough, you could hear all of the chatter that was happening. It was kind of a weird experience up there.
Section F, bro. All the way up in the heaven. You sit up there and you look down and it feels like you're going to fall over onto the ice. I missed it.
Yeah, you get vertigo up there.
Yeah, that was wild.
So you're pretty confident that it's not that this COVID stuff's not going to affect the draft, like our fantasy football draft, like the preseason's not going to get pushed back, the season's not going to get pushed back. You think it's just they're going to stay on the same schedule they would if there was no COVID?
Just because what Geno said, they have time. NBA, NHL, Premier League, they're trying to make up for lost time. MLB was just basically crushed at right when they were supposed to open. That football doesn't have to make up for lost time. So I think football is safe, and God, I hope I don't look like an ass in 2 months for saying that. But
yeah.
What about college football?
I think they're safe too. Yeah.
I don't know about college football.
They're talking if there's no fans, they're not going to play.
I think college football is more in doubt than the NFL. I could see them canceling the season, giving the players another year of eligibility or whatever.
Yeah. It seems like the schools are way more reliant on the gate and fans coming to the game, and also, I don't know. Also, you're not paying college athletes, right? So it's like they don't have this I have to feed my family type motivation,
Right.
Most schools are trending, towards having students on campus. I haven't really heard of any that are saying we're not going to have students on campus. So as long as that is trending in that direction, I'm not going to worry. Although I don't even want to think about a fall without college football. That would be pretty depressing.
A lot of schools are just trying to wait till after the second wave to send kids back, which could help. But
Fauci said today he thinks this is still the first wave. I mean, I'm not saying that I condone what that guy has to say or anything, but I mean, there's a chance that we haven't even gotten into this. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there's so much mixed information. Who knows? We're supposed to have a second, but I don't know. I mean,
we're flying by the seat of our pants.
We really are. Yeah. We really are.
Knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. That's the best part.
Yeah.
Geno, do you have an opinion on losers' punishments?
I was just about to say that. I think we should definitely it should involve getting the last place person inebriated before the draft. I mean, that's just the most.
I love that. I love
it's
that.
the most fun thing. And even if someone's with the availability of house party and what's it called, Zoom and the dinosaur Skype, we can use all those apps to even if it's noon and he's not there, whoever, they can in good faith chug a bunch of beers before the draft starts and
What if I give up drinking before the draft?
I don't know.
Just don't.
It was just that. Yeah, I won't be. So.
Real wrench.
Just try to test you there a little bit, keep you on your toes.
Yeah, I don't.
There's no real good answer to that one.
But I
Can't really force
think we
somebody
should
to drink.
definitely do that. I would love to see, someone just get annihilated before the draft and have to figure it all out from there. It would be really fun.
Yeah. I mean, the last place guy, lost 9 games? That's 9 drinks before draft starts. I mean, you're going to be – I mean, you can choose whatever drinks you want, but even if you're drinking, fuzzy nasals or whatever the fuck they're called, you're still going to be pretty fucked up if you have 9 of them.
I was thinking it would be more of like a sprint event where we all watch one person
just line up 9 shots,
poison themselves,
and just
with
bang,
alcohol.
bang, 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 bang. I would volunteer, even though we haven't implemented this. I would do that.
To start that off.
I would start it because if I started it, then it would have to be continued.
Right.
And it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult, to do it now. So I'm in last place. I'm thoroughly embarrassed by my performance last year. We've talked about my reasons why, but I would volunteer if we get that passed. I would do 9 shots of tequila right before the draft.
Dude, you're not going to make it through the draft.
Don't get last.
Don't get last. I don't know.
Right, but 9's a lot.
It's a fucking lot, but I mean,
I feel
I would like to see somebody else do it.
4.5. Even if you did 4.5, it's still a lot. Bang, bang,
I'll
bang.
do 9 shots before the draft. If we voted in, and you guys agree, because there's a good chance that one of you 3 is going to be last next year. So
no, I'm actually planning on winning the league.
That's an interesting plan for somebody that has the second worst record over the last 5 years.
I don't look back.
A new league next year, it doesn't matter.
You're right. You're right. Anything can happen. Let's vote it in.
I mean, it doesn't have to be 9 shots.
I'm so confident in my strategy. If we can get the rules tied up.
9, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take it quick.
Yeah, 9 of something. It doesn't have to be, 9 shots of whiskey, which sounds awful. But,
I would prefer to do
9 in 9 minutes.
No. I think the move is okay. The draft starts at 2 p.m. Whatever. You have to drink however many drinks so you lost 9 games. You have to take 9 drinks. You can have 5 beers and 4 shots. You do it however you want. But to ask someone, there's people in our league who don't drink a lot. To ask someone to take 5 shots in a row before the draft, I mean, they're not going to be drafting. They're going to be on auto draft. I mean, it just seems kind of cruel.
What if you do 3 strikeouts? 1, 2, 3 times 3. 3 beers, 3 shots, 3 hits.
Connor, who are these people in our league that don't drink a lot? Because I don't think they exist.
Well, okay, so everyone drinks, but I'm feeling like, okay, not to call anyone out, but I feel like if Andrew, you have to take 4 shots in a row before the draft. I mean, he's a dad. He doesn't really have time to drink like we do, so he's probably going to be on his ass.
He's going to be real pissy.
He's gonna be so mad.
I would die. I'd have to roll in the. I wouldn't even make it to the draft.
If I took 9 shots, I would be yakking 100%.
100.
Within the hour and a half after, you think you could make it through the draft? What if okay?
I don't think
if you puke, you have to auto draft the rest of your team from that point forward.
That's cruel. That's
cruel. I would try to puke and move on. Puke and rally. I'd do the 9, puke it out, and then just play. That would be my only strategy. It's the only way I could do 9 shots.
Yeah, we used to have that fantasy football league, but then the last place punishment was asphyxiation, and someone died.
Yeah.
Relegation by asphyxiation.
Yeah, Michelin took 8 shots and fell into the pool, and it's just a recipe for disaster, I think.
Yeah, but I know it should definitely involve getting intoxicated before the draft. I love that.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. It's funny, we can record it for posterity. Everyone can enjoy it. It's not hard. The thing is, a lot of the fun ones are hard to actually enforce. You know,
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, I heard a league that makes someone spend 24 hours in a Walmart supercenter. I mean, who wants to babysit the person that's supposed to be in there? Like, no, like
Yeah,
no one wants to do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, it should be a punishment for next year, which is getting intoxicated before the draft. It should be like the only thing with that 9 drinks over a period of time is it's like you can kind of coast by and not really do it, and it's not as much of a fun event as like.
Well, if you want to wake up
like
at
2 hours.
6 a.m. and start drinking, that's
Right.
your prerogative.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Exactly. You
You're-
create your own. If you want to create the time that you have to drink, then you have to go out of your way to create that time. It's not just.
I feel like
I'm waking
9
up
drinks
at
is
whatever.
usual. I mean, me and Pat are at the pool drinking at 8:30 before
Right.
you guys even wake
That's
up.
fine.
yeah, that's
fine.
true. But I'm just thinking, everyone in the league maybe that's not usual for.
You're saying
Well, this
Gotti?
year, that's not gonna be the case this year.
Well, okay, so yeah. Imagine Gotti gets last, which isn't hard to imagine because he probably has more last place than anyone else in the league. Gotti
All
goes.
it does is push back the draft.
Yeah, Gotti goes 3-10. Okay, Gotti has to drink 10 drinks before pick 1. Fine. Gotti can do it, but his problem is he doesn't wake up on the weekends until 11 a.m. at the latest. So he has like a 3-hour window to drink 10 drinks, and at that case, he's out of his mind.
Well,
I
and
think
he's
if
not
you-
showing up.
10
till an
shots
hour
in a couple
before.
hours is nothing. It's nothing.
Dude, 10 shots in a couple hours.
That's a lot.
Fucking dead. I'm dead.
All right, let's
Maybe it's not. Maybe that's not that extreme, but to me it sounds very extreme.
Geno, do you have an opinion on which No Squirrel Mafia member might finally take home a squirrel?
I guess Ricky, because he has like the most consistent performance.
Yeah.
He's always good. And if I'm looking at my schedule and I'm like, shit, I gotta play Ricky. I know his team's gonna be good. It almost always is, unless he gets really unlucky, which he has. So if luck balances back out in his favor, I would pick him.
That's an astute pick.
Yeah.
I think everybody has picked either Connor or Ricky.
Yeah.
I think Hani might have said Andrew too, though.
Oh yeah. I think Hani had 9 drinks before he came on.
Yeah, definitely did.
How about this, Gino? Who has the most approved throughout the league? Doesn't have to be an NSM member, but who has the most approved? We've had some really interesting answers. I think Hani said Hartz has the most approved, which seems weird. This one, but
Yeah.
That ain't right. He didn't say that. Nobody.
no, he did, didn't he?
No.
I think he did.
Yeah, he did.
What?
I don't know. I mean,
That was the one you drank a whole bottle of wine.
not
so
to call you out, but I mean, it's probably you. I mean, I'm still laughing about. Remember that one year you wore a suit to the draft, and I think you got last. I think about
You
that
really
all
wear
the
a
time.
suit?
Yeah, he wore a suit and a tie, and he had a cummerbund, I think, and he got fucking last.
Here's the funny.
Probably wearing that hat.
Here's the funny thing. The year I dressed up to go to the draft, it was at Ghilani's and Gotti's house. That was the year I actually did well.
Oh yeah.
That was the year I went to the championship. So I guess
convenient.
I guess I need to fucking dress up this year. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure the year I dressed up nicely, I did really well.
I don't know. I'm not sure. It's hard to verify. I'm not sure. I thought you did bad that year, and I was laughing about it. But
It's a better story if he did bad that year.
I know.
We can say I did
better
bad. I
story.
don't care.
Yeah. I think you did.
Way
But,
better story.
but I don't know,
We
man.
have the
I mean,
stats- we don't have the stats to prove it, so who knows?
you're commissioner. You're doing this podcast. You got a lot to prove. I would say, and
Yeah.
just
Well,
hopefully
I mean, yeah, I accept that. I accept that for sure.
yeah.
Earlier, I'd like to make a correction. Earlier, I said that Connor had the second worst record of the last 5 years. He actually is the third worst.
Thank you.
29,
Oh, wow.
35, and 1.
Yeah.
Gotti is worse at 27 and 38, but he does have a squirrel. And then Corey last 25, 37, and 3 ties. Pretty well.
Well, honestly, those stats speak to the parity of this league.
Yeah.
everyone is pretty bunched up. I mean, I'm the third worst in the last 5 years, just barely under 500, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of parity in
6
this
games
league.
under 500. That's
Barely, like I said, barely.
That's over one
So-
game per season.
Yeah.
That's a,
It's almost half
that's
a season.
almost half a season.
Yeah.
I mean, suck it.
This is going to be tough to come back from.
Yeah.
Even
Well,
that out.
here's the beauty of it. You don't need to come back from anything. We're not in a dynasty league. We're in a redraft league, and every hope springs eternal
I don't know if
every
that's a beauty,
September.
though.
Yeah.
Interesting segue. We got to
Yeah.
probably wrap this up here in a couple minutes. But Geno, last time we had a very heated conversation about a possible keeper scenario, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I think it's a cool idea. I just once again, this is similar to two quarterback, where I don't want it to compromise the draft. I want the draft.
Johnny conservative.
The draft is sacred, and I want it to still be amazingly fun and the draft's also really thrilling, right? So it's you don't know who's gonna get picked, and then it's your turn, and all the pressure's on you, right? And that's awesome. I don't want a keepers thing to diminish from that, which would be sort of a downside. But if
I
we
don't
did
think one
keepers-
keeper would. One keeper
yeah,
would.
I think we should definitely limit it to one.
Yeah.
More than that, it jeopardizes the fun of the draft.
Imagine if you still had the homie Alvin on your team for an
at
8th-round
13.
pick.
Yeah, 13th round.
You'd be living the dream.
That would be
Yeah, but
amazing.
imagine if you didn't and somebody else did.
Yeah. So how does it how would we do that? If we had one keeper, would it change? Would you have to release that player after 1 year?
I'd say
You
probably
would be
we'd
able
have
to keep
do
them
3
3
years.
seasons.
3 seasons. Okay.
Yeah, so you get them, you draft them, and you keep them twice.
Okay.
If we go by Ghilani rules. Yep.
If you would go by my baseball rules, which seem to be pretty cool.
They're not Ghilani rules. I mean, that's pretty standard on how everyone does it. Every season you take a round penalty, an increasing round penalty, and you keep it for 3 years. If you want to
You can do it
increase
any way you
4 or
want.
5, that's fine. But I mean, there's going to be very few people hit the jackpot like Geno did in one of the last rounds on the homie Alvin. I mean, that's rare. And the reason they cap it is because it does seem unfair after a certain point that a first round talent, but you do get to reap those benefits for 3 years.
Right, and if you hit the lottery, you should get paid. So,
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Oh, speaking of that, I have a distinct memory of in the group chat when that season when homie Alvin broke out. I think it was week 3 or something, or 4 or something. He was still doing well, but still kind of perceived as a flash in the pan. And Ghilani said, "Alvin Kamara."
Oh, you gave him the lull.
He did. He gave the lull,
I did.
and
The lull.
that one came back.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure after the
Came back to
draft,
bite him.
I might have gotten from Geno the lol Lamar Jackson. So
Whoa! I don't think I did that.
I think someone did. I don't know. It's hard to keep all you assholes,
Might have
I
been
think
together.
it was a little early, I think. At the time, it felt a little early, I think.
The vintage lull is below Powell.
Yeah. And that was me on Connor.
The
Yeah.
double lol hits different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his number one
took him
running
a
back
second round.
3 years
No,
ago.
it wasn't. It wasn't. You guys revisionist fucking history every goddamn week with you assholes. Bilal Powell was my 5th round pick. You
a
guys are
second round pick.
idiots.
That's still probably 10 too high.
Bull
He got him on the.
Yeah, he
on
was
the
supposed to
12-13
lead the
turn.
Jets backfield, so suck it. You fucking
He got
moron.
him 12-13 turn, I think.
Yeah, honestly, I just am surprised that I'm in a podcast with people who hit on every single fucking pick they make. Why don't you blow it out your ass? Okay?
Connor thought we were doing keepers. and kept-
So lucky. Again, sorry, I missed it.
It's good.
I said Connor thought we were doing keepers and kept Bull Powell every year.
Yeah. We've all made mistakes. Some are just
He couldn't have drafted him
more
every year.
memorable than others.
Oh wait, I think he did. We're in a redraft league. I forgot.
I mean, that's memorable by name only. People make more egregious picks every year. Geno, let me ask you this. Are you preparing differently in 2020, or is it more of the same for you?
It's more of the same, just mock drafting. I really like mock drafting. I just I don't know. I do it it's a time waster, but it's fun, and a lot of like angry, terrible people on there, and get some fun group chats going back and forth with the wider fantasy football community. And
I love establishing a rapport. Waxing philosophical on the little chats there in the mock drafts.
Do you
right.
mock
And
on
Changing
ESPN?
anything up this year?
I mock on
in 8 years?
ESPN, and then you get like your random people that are just like, want to see the world burn and take
No, you're not.
take
not
Baker
using
Mayfield
ESPN.
first overall and ruin the entire mock, and people freak out. It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
I
you see that quite a bit.
I can never seem to get an ESPN mock draft where 8 of the 12 people don't auto draft in the first round because they're waiting for the timer to go down and then just never get into the league.
Right.
Yeah, this is that time of year where people are drafting more and more, so you have to go like 10 minutes into the future to find a league where you can get your desired spot,
And then you forget about it.
Yeah.
You totally forget.
I'm guilty.
The app only lets you go so far, though.
Oh, I
That's
don't
true.
use that.
That's
Doing it
true.
on the app, you can only go so far in advance to see the available stuff. But
I feel like
I still forget.
the ESPN running back ranks this year are like really weird. Like I disagree with a lot of them.
Well, why don't you tell us who?
No, I'm not going to do that. But it just seems, I don't know. I usually am like pretty much like, you can understand where ESPN's getting their ranks. And like for wide receiver and quarterback, it seems pretty uncontroversial. But the running backs seem kind of goofy.
I think the quarterbacks are super goofy too. They have Deshaun Watson like 4th. He just lost DeAndre Hopkins. Like, who's he have to throw the ball to?
Yeah, no, that's
Will
true.
Fuller is going to play 3.5 games like he always does. How is he going to be the number 4 quarterback? Just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Running back situation is going to be super weird. Dalvin Cook, who knows what's going to happen with him?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this year running back is deeper than it's ever been because there's a lot of players that are kind of in this weird no man's, like they're kind of have huge question marks because their situation's changed. And so, I mean, like it seems like there's way more viable running backs like in the top tier than there has been in previous years,
We're
not a
still
lot.
pretty far out to be trusting or to be even really looking at the ESPN rankings at this point. I think though.
Yeah, they're going to change so much.
That's
I used to be a heavy June mocker, heavy May mocker, but then I realized, all the guys that I'm like, wow, this is a great value, come August are no longer values. And
completely
they just,
changes.
yeah.
That's honestly though, we do have to, if we're going to do 2 quarterback, which I know it's leaning that way, we do need to determine soon because otherwise I've just mock drafted teams.
Super
Yeah.
flex.
Yeah.
Right.
So Geno, here's the deal. Hani,
Like
myself,
Twitter,
and Ghilani, the triumvirate, are planning a rules summit in the very near future. And once all the rules are set, then we can do PYP, and that's going to be going into motion in the very near future. So a lot's going to be happening, and honestly, it's goddamn near football season, boys.
I know.
We're getting there. We are getting there.
I can't wait. One more thing. I want to say that Ghilani constantly correcting us or me saying 2 quarterback and replacing it with super flex. That's called propaganda.
He's not wrong. It's not.
Didn't you hear my stat about Jared Goff last time? It was amazing. It was amazing. Jared Goff, the 13th ranked quarterback last year, would have scored less than 10 points like 6 of the 16 weeks. And he would have been the Superflex 1.
Listen to the stat, man.
Right,
You
so you're
might
taking
learn
gambles,
something.
yeah.
Okay.
You're going to play a quarterback in the spot more often than not, but it's going to
That's what I'm
be
saying.
it's not going to be as much as you think.
Okay.
And there's going to be more flex guys that are viable, especially if we keep bonuses in place, than you think.
All right.
Just
Well,
because there's going to be people hoarding.
we can all
You won't be able to play these quarterbacks. That's why.
we can all look at the rosters week 1, everyone's starting lineups, and what percentage of those do you think will have a quarterback in the super flex spot?
Week 1, 100%.
100.
100%. But week 8, once buys are starting to kick in and once people realize that there's matchup-based quarterbacks and there's quarterbacks that you don't play every single week, and maybe a wide receiver has a better matchup than Baker Mayfield against the Steelers defense.
No.
So week
You're
1,
just finding a better
100%.
matchup
Yeah,
for
I mean,
quarterback.
if the league was determined by week 1 rosters, I'd win the league every single fucking year. Just kidding. I'm shit at draft.
Cut to Monty
I'll
Ball
say,
shaking his head.
Corey would if he went by Ghilani's evaluation.
Exactly.
Corey would win every year.
Yeah, that's true.
Last year on week 1, Connor had 63.26 points.
I meant week 1 before you even play. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
Paper teams. He's a
When no
paper.
one's
He's a
played.
paper guy.
Sorry.
Yeah.
paper
Paper.
tier.
All right. So, we're at an hour, so let's wrap up. The only really thing I have to say is, Geno, you've been a fantastic guest. It's been a lot of fun.
Pleasure.
This has been great. Sports are picking back up. It's damn near football season. I'm starting to think about the Steelers. I'm starting to think about fantasy, and I'm just excited, man. Like I said, we're going to have PYP coming up here soon, which is always an event in its own, and let's do it, boys. I mean, gotta love it.
I heard there's going to be a mystery guest at the draft. Anybody have confirmation from Rod?
Well, we haven't actually decided where we're going to do the draft. Geno, did you have an opinion on that?
Hashtag all that land. I do like the Hartz abode draft is exciting. Obviously, if we could do like a destination draft, let's face it, that's impossible. That would never happen. I've tried to plan a million things over the course of my life with our group of friends, and it's never gone very well. So I'm just a realist, and I think Hartz's would be dope.
It didn't happen last year when it was perfect. So
yeah,
I don't think this year with the vid, I don't think that we can get the destination with that COVID out there.
Yeah.
But in the future, I think that maybe somebody has a bachelor party over Labor Day weekend.
That'd be sick.
To force the destination
Right.
wedding.
What are your plans this Labor Day, Ghilani? Do you plan on making a trek? Say we all pitched in $10. We get you a ticket for free, basically. Would you fly in, or do you think it's just kind of out of the question?
There's a lot of things that are up in the air right now.
Right.
So
the out of towners, if we could just all pitch in a couple bucks, I'm willing to.
Easy.
If we can actually get everyone together, it makes sense to just pitch in and bring them. Like, what's it?
Yeah.
Because if it's way easier to bring 2 people than it is to bring 10 somewhere. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, but bringing 2 people to
idea.
Pittsburgh is so much different than bringing 12 people to Mexico.
Right.
Or 10 people, 9 people, 11 people to the mountains or whatever.
Right.
You feel like what? That it's just cooler? Or you mean?
Yeah, totally. Like a destination draft would be fucking amazing.
It would be amazing, but I don't know. Newsflash, we haven't all gone on a trip together in like 7 years, so I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, Geno's trying to coordinate a camping trip, an hour drive away, and not speaking ill of anyone here, but you can't even get anyone to commit to anything.
Yeah.
I know. We think we have something planned. Hart said he can't do it that weekend. Try to do another weekend. No one's responding. It's just a disaster trying to plan anything with these idiots.
Depends on how you do. It depends on how you're doing it. See, I was out because Chelsea couldn't do it, but if you're switching it to a different thing, I could probably do it. Depends on. You keep changing it up.
I see what you're saying. You're dudes only. That's what you're trying to do.
Well, that's what the last message was, but it doesn't have to be. I'm just saying that was the reason I was out before, though.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, at that point, I was just like, I will make all compromises just to make it happen. Whatever makes it happen, I don't care. It's just like whatever has to happen. I just want it to happen. So
absolutely.
But yeah, I would love to do a destination draft back on track. I'd love it. It would be amazing to go somewhere cool with everybody. It just seems unlikely. So
no one cares about your other league is going to Florida this year. I know that.
Honestly, the fact that you even said that is really annoying.
Why? I think it should put. Oh, that's ridiculous. I think it should put pressure. I think it should put pressure on the rest of the group to want to do a destination thing. It can be done. I'm seeing it done right now. So I think it puts.
But I just have to tell you that no one gives a shit. No one cares.
I'm just kidding. I'm back.
Okay.
Why does no one care though? I was saying, Glenn.
It's just a shit league. It's stupid. No one cares. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I know that. That's what I said. No one cares about the other league. But I'm saying is it puts pressure on the other people. The other people should be able, if one league can get all 12 people there, there's no reason that this better league shouldn't be able to get 12 people there.
I agree.
I think it's crazy.
I agree. I mean, do people in your league have kids?
Yes.
One of them,
Two of
the
them
most outspoken member of our league against the Rocky Mountain draft last year is in the other league, and
He
that
also said that he
that
would
makes
go.
me mad.
He
Yeah,
also
'cause-
said he would go.
He like doesn't like nature.
But it was
No one else committed.
But it was the
No one else would commit.
negativity, and it was
Yeah,
this is a
true.
stupid idea and nobody should go, and that's
That was
really
that
rubbed me
was
the
the
wrong
point.
way.
I can't wait to have him on this podcast
and
and see him defend himself.
Yeah.
But boys, we're running 107. Any other pressing issues we want to discuss before we sign off?
I got nothing.
I'm good.
Yeah, just
Honestly,
remember that just because we go two quarterback flex doesn't mean it has to be exactly the way Ghilani wants it. It just means that we just have to figure out what's best. Signing off.
Fight
Don't
for
be
your
scared.
rights.
That's it.
Don't be
Fight
scared.
for your rights.
Word.
We'll
Yep,
see you.
that's
We'll
what
see
I'm
you
saying.
guys in 2
Think for
weeks.
yourself. That's it.
All right.
Have your
Thanks for
own.
having me on, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Pleasure, Geno.
See you
Thanks for
guys.
joining us.
Thanks so much for doing this. I love watching it every week. Hopefully, Michelin starts
it.
actually watching it.